All right, welcome everybody to the, I guess, the postseason edition of Under the Dome. The season is over with, but Black Monday was not over with. Um, yeah, in fact, Black Monday carried over to today with John Harbaugh getting fired. Um, I'm here tonight with Bob Rose. It seems like it's been a month since we last saw you. Might have been longer, but now the holidays over with, you now could take it easy, right?
No, not even close. I'm still going to be working a lot at Jared to try to scramble for some extra money, though. Though at least not the holiday hours. And this, as you know, Alan, from doing this yourself and from knowing me for several years now, this is actually coming into my busiest time of year with the draft profiles, draft analysis, free agency profiles, free agency analysis. Writing during the season, folks, is easy. You write about the games that you analyze. All you need to do is analyze the games, and pretty much everything else writes itself. This time of year is when the real work begins. But having said that, this is also my funnest part of the job. Getting into discussions and debates with people. This is how you and I got to know each other better in the way we think. The infamous Hassan Reddick debates. From what year was that? 2017, 2018.
It might have even been further than that. I don't remember anymore.
It might have been, but things are going to continue to get crazy with me. But I'm glad to hopefully get back on a fairly regular show routine with you, with Brendan over on Under the Dome, Jordy on Tuesday mornings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and for a change, we'll talk about the Saints-Falcons game, but probably for the first time since, I want to say 2017, probably, the Saints fans are really optimistic about the future of the team. A lot of it has to do with Tyler Shough and his performance, but even more of it has to do just with the way this team finished. We go from 1-8 the beginning of November to 6-11, and really a missed field goal and a bad official call, offensive pass interference call away from beating the Falcons with essentially Rouse's bag boy receivers out there. Which is why I think Raheem Morris got fired right after the game. Immediately Sunday evening he just walked out the locker room when I think they had to talk, he was the first one to go on Black Monday, not counting the Giants, obviously, and the Titans losing their coaches during the season. But he was the first name that we saw out there. And I think a lot of it has to do with how that team played, because there was no way, if you put all this money into this defense and all this draft capital into this defense, there was no way Tyler Shough should have been able to do what he did and essentially lose just by mistakes the Saints made in that game by 2 points. You lost by 2 points. And the winning field goal came off of an interception that Shough had to throw because he had to keep calling. They had to keep calling the same play over and over and over again because these guys didn't know any plays.
Right.
This is what happens when you call slants too many times. Because these guys probably only knew about 6 plays. You're not going to run a scissors route or a really complicated route because those guys didn't know where they had to go. Since we haven't talked about Shough, and we'll talk more about Black Monday in a minute, but since we didn't get a chance to talk about Shough during this winning streak, how much have you been impressed with, and what have you been impressed with Tyler Shough?
I've been very impressed with Tyler Shough, and as anybody knows that follows my work, you guys know that I loved Shough even before the pre-draft process. I'm patting myself on the back a little bit, but I'll take it. I was happy with the pick. I loved his draft film. I loved him even, I really liked him even going back to Texas Tech. He had some injury problems, obviously, but he was always a guy, that could throw the ball on time, prospered in an up-tempo offense, was able to hit all the throws on the field accurately, get all of his receivers involved, had a good feel for what the opposing defense was throwing at him. And with a rookie quarterback, there is obviously a learning curve, as there was with Tyler and everybody else that has ever been a rookie quarterback in the NFL. But I think he embraced that, and you saw the improvement week after week after week. He had complete command of this offense, regardless of the lack of talent that has been around him. Guys, consider this. I'm not throwing Spencer Rattler under the bus by any means. As far as I'm concerned, this is an apples to oranges comparison now. But under Rattler, this team was averaging 198 passing yards per game, 5.9 per attempt. Under Shough, it was 265 passing yards a game in his full starts, 7.3 per attempt. And he did this 7 of his 9 games starts without Kamara, 8 of his 9 starts without Shaheed, 3 games without Vele and Tipton. And in that last game, and you kind of alluded to this, Estime, Hull in the backfield, Austin, Pettis, Bell, and Tamori as receivers, and Nyheim Hines is an emergency back, and I don't think Hines got into the game at all on offense. But consider this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. The 7 players that I just mentioned, 5 of them weren't on any roster at all. Forget practice squad; they were on no rosters at all at the midseason point. And Austin and Pettis are career practice squad guys. Let's be real. And Tyler was still able to move the ball up and down the field against the Falcons. I know that they only put 17 points on the board, but they were in position for another score when he threw the interception. They were in position for 2 more scores, one late in the game. And then another on Smith's missed field goal earlier in the game. So he was moving the ball at will, against a Falcons defense who, like you said, Alan, spent a lot of money to upgrade. And Atlanta, to be fair, does have a couple defensive players that I really like. But nonetheless, Shough was doing this with basically nobodies. Now, I like Estime, don't get me wrong, but basically nobody's in the backfield, nobody's at wide receiver, and probably the worst interior offensive line in the NFL this season. So those facts alone are indisputable. And then, all you need to do is watch Tyler Shough play. And, you just realize you watch some of the incredible throws that he makes. Throwing receivers open, and that's the key to being an NFL quarterback. That's something that we didn't see out of Rattler. We didn't see out of Jameis Winston, Derek Carr. All the players. I'm missing the name. Trevor Siemian, Andy Dalton. Basically, none of the guys.
Yeah, Jameis Winston, all those guys. Yeah,
all of them. And Tyler Shough. I want to see him with a full season under his belt for sure. But he's at least checked off the box of, have the Saints found their quarterback for 2026? 100%. Absolutely. Now it's time to surround him with talent to see how good he can really be.
What the thing I keep hammering home to people, and Luke Johnson wrote a column about it today on NOLA.com, but the thing I kept hammering home to people is the difference on third down. How much better, once Tyler Shough got in there, how much better the Saints were on third down. And it wasn't like, oh, well, now they're running the ball better, it's 3rd and short. No, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 16, 3rd and 11. He was converting. He scored 5 touchdowns on third down. The rating he had was 103.3 passer rating on third down, trailing only Brock Purdy and Joe Burrow. I'm quoting Luke Johnson's column here. 5 of Shough's passing touchdowns came on third down. As many or more than former NFL MVPs Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. For what it's worth, Rattler's 79.0 passer rating on third downs was ranked 27th out of 46 qualifying passers. So, I mean, to me, that was the money down. On the money down, he was making conversions. That's why the scoring went up. That's why the drives were extended. That's why the offense just looked better, because we were still getting the pre-snap penalties. We were still not getting anything out of the running game. So it wasn't third and short. He was manufacturing conversions by throwing people open, extending plays when he had pressure all around him, and he made plays happen. And you and I have talked about this in the past with Drew Brees. What made Brees so effective was Brees could elevate the talent around him, making the offensive line better than they were, making the receivers better than what they were, because he was so smart and was so accurate in his passing. It was a stunning turnaround. And to me, he got better each game.
Yeah.
He looked better against Atlanta at the end of the season with those receivers than he did against Los Angeles in his first start, and Miami the first half, especially, in that game. So, I mean, I can't help but feel optimistic about him, because I liked everything I saw from him. I mean, yes, he needs to get the sacks down. He took 4 sacks against the Falcons. 2 of them he shouldn't have gotten, because he should have thrown the ball away, and he didn't.
Yes.
That has to improve. He's also a rookie. So I think that kind of stuff will improve. But the decisions, the accuracy, the ability to extend plays, be able to run the ball when there's nothing there in the passing game, that's the stuff that really got me excited about him. And he didn't look like a rookie. When you looked at him and you watched, I don't know, let's just go back last year. You look at guys like Kenny Pickett. You look at guys like, what the hell is the name of that quarterback? He used to be with the Falcons. He was he came from Cincinnati.
Willis?
No, not Willis. It was
Ritter.
Ritter, yes. Ritter. You look at that guy. You look at a lot of those quarterbacks. They look like UDFA, basically, kind of quarterbacks. And some of them were taken high in the draft. Even Rattler looked better than a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
And I credit, I'm not saying this like even Rattler, like, this clown, but I credit Kellen Moore, and I credit, Tolson and Nussmeier coaching him up, teaching him, when to run, when to throw the ball away, when to throw the check down, that kind of stuff. Get his sacks down, learning a little bit more accuracy. But Shough, on the other hand, is a player who could take him one step further. He can now make plays rather than just manage the offense, which is, I felt like that's what Rattler was doing over there.
Yeah.
What was the other one I saw in here? There was one other stat I wanted to show that I saw in here. No, never mind. It was some of these numbers. It just doesn't work well when you try and read it out loud, because it makes it confusing. But this is one stat. The Saints were not good in the red zone, only converting 30%. 44.4% of their goal to go situations this year, 30% below the league average. I think that's the fault of the running game. And the slow starts, what they were outscored by. I was trying to find that stat. It must be. I can't find it right now.
I know it was ridiculous in the first quarter. The
It was
point
something like
differential.
130 to like 21, something like that. It was a ridiculous number. I just can't find the number right now. I know I saw it, but
again, that number by itself is almost a check in Shough's column, because a lot of rookie quarterbacks, when they fall behind, they can get a little bit panicky or press too hard. And Shough, for the most part, Rams game and the Dolphins game aside, for the most part, remain composed, extremely poised, in big moments. Not panicky. Hey, let's stay on schedule, and let's chip away at this thing, because the bigger plays will come, and more often than not, they did.
Exactly. I mean, excuse me, this was one of the things. Opponents gained 4.84 yards per play this year, which was the best by the defense since 1997. But they allow 55 plays for 20 more yards, which is about league average. But it represented roughly a 25% decrease from last year. The defense, we'll talk about that in a second. The one I was looking for, though, was how they were in the. Okay, here it is. This year, the Saints were outscored 122-29 in the opening quarter, first quarter. In the last 15 NFL seasons, only 5 teams score fewer points in the first quarters of their games than the Saints did in 2025. That's got to change.
Yeah.
You've got to get off the faster starts. You've got to get points on the board early, because it was an amazing statistic that the Saints were able to get within 1-score games despite that kind of point differential just in the first quarter. You spend the entire game now trying to dig yourself out of this hole and come back. I think prior to Tyler Shough taking over as a starter, I think the Saints had the lead at halftime in only one game this year.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So, that you can't dig yourself into the hole. And yet, defensively, this team, okay, Anna, we'll accept that. We'll accept that excuse. She says, sorry, I'm late. I had a meeting.
That's fair.
Yeah. I've been there, done that. But yeah, the Saints would dig themselves into a hole points wise, and they'd spend the entire second half trying to dig themselves out of that hole. And then you add on top of that the Saints offense struggled to score 20 or more points until Shough got going in the last quarter of the season, December, but that also speaks to how good the defense was. Yeah. Defensively, how impressed were you with Chase Young and Cam Jordan both getting 10 sacks? Cam got 10.5. The pass defense, how impressed were you with Staley's defense his first year at the helm?
Oh God, really, really, really impressed. They were leaps and bounds better than what I thought that they were going to be, even from the start of the season, when the pass rush was essentially non-existent. Basically was until Chase got healthy. They were able to rush the passer very, very well. They improved against the run. I know the raw numbers might not jump off the page. I think they ended up like 23rd, 24th against the run. But the yards per game was better than what last year. And most importantly, the yards per carry was significantly better than what it was last year. And, down the stretch, down the last half of the season, really, you're talking about one of the better pass defenses in the entire league. I kept, writing about how impressed I was by a very, very young secondary. Alontae Taylor in his fourth year and Justin Reed in like his sixth year. They were the elder statesmen, and they weren't the best players. Kool-Aid McKinstry, second year. Quincy Riley, rookie. Jonah Sanker, rookie. Those guys were real standouts. And, although I didn't think that they played well at all the last 2.5 games of the year, because there were some inconsistencies there. I thought that this was the best overall unit on the entire team. And then when you go, going back to what you said about Cam and Chase, Cam showed he still has a lot of good football left. He's not the every down elite all around defender anymore. But when Staley started using him, really what you and I have been calling for the way Cam should have been used the last 2 or 3, 4 years, was a situational role, not necessarily a specialized pass rusher, but pick and choose your moments when you're going to use Cam. And that's what Brandon Staley did that, remarkably well. And, Chase, I said it with Jordy Hallberg this morning. I almost feel like I have to, mea culpa and take back my nickname of him of Mr. Almost, because you'd be hard pressed to find 5 pass rushers in the NFL that were better than what Chase Young was this year. I still think edge rusher is a big need for the Saints this offseason, but man, you find an edge rusher to complement Chase on each side, and you pick and choose your moments with Cam. Provided he's back, you have something elite here. And Staley, I love the way he used Alontae Taylor down the stretch. He figured out how to get some even better football out of a good player in Brian Bresee. The young players stepped up big time, and the veterans, not just Cam, but certainly Demario Davis, the veterans showed us that they have a lot left in the tank.
Oh, Demario Davis was amazing. He said they had a stat that came out that said Demario Davis had more tackles than he had when he was 25 years old, at 37, and more tackles for a loss. So it wasn't just, okay, he's tackling somebody, but he's 10 yards downfield. He was having an impact. Not having Todd Grantham around, that was a big, big thing for Cam. Cam still gets pissed off thinking about him, basically putting him on the sideline and tell him we're going to only use you at certain times, and when it's obviously needed him. Hey, Carl Granderson had a good game. My problem with Granderson has always been he has 1 or 2 good games. It's not a consistent thing, but he picked a great game to have a good one because, he was an animal out there. That interception was just unbelievable. And I kept telling my son and my daughter as we're watching the game, I'm like, that's film work. He recognized exactly what that play was and where he was going with it, and he still caught it. But he was a maniac. Unfortunately, he seems to step up for divisional games. Those
Very much
games
so.
That really get him because he was good, really good against Tampa Bay in the rain, and he was good against Carolina. So if you can limit Granderson as a rotational player, kind of like Cam, but as somebody who rotates in to give a breather to Chase or a breather to, say, a rookie that's coming in, I think you can get a lot of production out of him because this is a name from the past, but some of you might remember him. Willie Whitehead was a great defensive end as long as he didn't get too many snaps because he wore out pretty quickly, but he was a great defensive end. And I was just so impressed with how this defense and how this team in general behaved and acted. When you look at guys like the Jets, like the Dolphins to an extent, like the Giants, the Raiders, and you see the Browns, the Bengals, you see the dysfunction. You see the players who are mentally checked out. They don't give a shit anymore. You never saw that, even when they were 1-8 with the Saints. You saw a locker room that seemed to rally around each other. Then once things got rolling, oh my gosh, it's almost like it's a shame the season ended because it took you this long to get going. Now I want to see you play some more.
Yeah.
And yes, Anna, I totally agree. They need to address the offensive line, the interior of this offensive line in free agency. We can't spend any more draft capital on guards. We have a lot of money that's going to be available in 2027 and 2028. There's no reason Mickey shouldn't borrow off of that now and go sign a Pro Bowl guard from, say, the Bills or the I don't know. There was a couple players out there. I saw their names flash up as potential free agents. But yeah, just go out there and make them an offer they can't refuse to play left guard. Plug them in alongside of your first round pick Banks and become a left-handed team. Run to the left. To me, it's obvious that, and yeah, Calvin, I saw your comment too. I do think they wanted this game. They wanted it badly. They wanted to finish 7-10, and be a second place team potentially. It's just they ran out of guys. Chris Olave going down with a blood clot in his lung. If you had a Vele or a Chris Olave available for that game, the Saints win by double digits. So yeah, I think they do aggressively address the free agent market. We'll get more into that. Would I say the same for receiver in free agency or point that towards the draft? I think you get that in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that guy, what was his name? From the Colts, Alec
Pierce.
Alec Pierce, yeah. He had a West Chandler 1982 season. Very few catches, but 1,000 yards. West Chandler was the only receiver who got 1,000 yards in the strike shortened 82 season. They only had 9 games. So, but yeah, he had like a 24 point something yard per catch average. Just unbelievable.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing about wide receivers too, in free agency now, and you know this, Alan. You've talked about it before. You really only have 3 types. You have the bona fide elite, which rarely hit the market without being franchise tagged. Then you have the ones who want to be paid like elite, but rarely are once they get that paycheck. And then you have your also rans, your guys that are on the back end of their careers and just something is missing, or came into the league with a high draft status, and everybody is saying, a change of scenery or better quarterback play will benefit them. Well, 1 in every 5 actually work out. In all 3 of those categories, you're overpaying for a wide receiver. That's why I think I agree with you. You go out and get it in the draft. Maybe you get a Carnell Tate, or a Jordan Tyson, at pick number 8 overall. Wouldn't be mad at that. But more realistically, you're talking about a Concepcion or, several. I think several receivers are going to be bona fide finds and potential day 1 starters in rounds 2 or even 3. Michael Thomas was a 2nd round pick. Marcus Cole, everybody knows Marcus Colston, was a 7th round. So you could still find quality receivers. So yeah, there's a long-winded answer to your question. I think that they do address that more in the draft than free agency, because remember, they have Vele coming back. They like Jalen Polk enough to trade for him, even though they knew he was going to miss the year. And they pretty much felt the same way about Trey Palmer when they signed him. So they know that Tyler Shough can move the ball with the receivers that they have, but they also realize that they have to upgrade it. But I'd be surprised to see them spend a lot of money to do it. They're going to do it in the draft.
They just signed a guy from the CFL today.
CFL. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull the guy's name up real quick. It's not what I want to do. Let's see. John Sigler had the story.
Yeah, because I was stuck at Jared. So
Yeah.
Sigler grabbed it.
Yeah, it was. Hang on here. Oh, God, he wrote all kinds of stuff today.
He's been taking up the slack while I've been in retail prison.
Damian Alford. He set the CFL on fire by averaging 20 yards per catch as a rookie and is 6'5". I don't know how big he is. He's 6'5", but how much does he weigh? 215. So he ran a 4.46. So there's a guy. No, it's not like Chris Collinsworth. Now there's a guy, but there's a guy who you can throw him into the mix and see what you get out of him. I don't know if he will translate well, but at the same time, what did we just say about Tyler Shough? He elevates guys. If he can elevate this guy and elevate Polk, who apparently his problem in New England was a confidence problem. He had a confidence issue. And once he got over that, he could become what he was supposed to be when he was drafted in the second round. So I like what they're doing with trying to rebuild this receiving room with different kind of receivers.
Yeah.
I still think they look at a receiver in the second or third round. Who knows? That kid Bell from Louisville may slide all the way down to the sixth round because depending on how his knee looks, there's a guy you could probably draft late and stash for future considerations. That's kind of what they did with Polk. That's what they did with Palmer. It's an ongoing thing.
And I mentioned Casey Concepcion. I love him. Surratt from Indiana.
Oh, that's my son goes to sleep next to his picture every night because he loves that kid. He watched the Rose Bowl and he was just like, there's Surratt again. Look, there's Surratt, and he even wears 13 like Michael Thomas. But yeah, he loves him some Surratt. Calvin mentions Denzel Boston. That's what was his first name? The David Boston, the son of David Boston. So, David Boston, just a gigantic receiver. So yeah, I mean, there are some receivers out there. I think, and we're getting way ahead of everything, but I think as of January 6th, 2025, 8th overall pick is going to be Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame.
Me too.
Because he checks all the boxes for what they want to do. They're going to spend a fortune upgrading the middle of that offensive line, and he wants that inside zone run. You could see it with Estime. Estime was actually breaking into that level, the second level. Jeremiah Love can do it.
Yeah.
And he can catch. You give Shough a guy like that, and he can function with Valet. They're going to pay Olave. So
they are
Valet, Olave, Polk, this kid maybe from the CFL and a draft pick. You're going to see the tight ends aren't going to change. Unfortunately, you might get a couple of guys that you can find on the free agent market that are cheap. But barring anything dramatic, it's still going to be Juwan Johnson, who had a career year.
He did.
I mean,
he did.
He was catches.
He was
Most
the same old
by a tight end since Jimmy Graham in 2014.
Yeah, and only Jimmy Graham and Henry Childs, had better receiving production than Juwan. And at this point, what you're going to get out of Juwan. You'll get 2 or 3 just mind-boggling plays, and then 2 or 3 mind-numbing plays.
We saw it in Atlanta.
Exactly.
I mean, that one-handed grab, that's the picture I picked tonight. That one-handed grab was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just reaching behind you to get it. And then there's one grab that he had where I didn't even know. I thought Shough was throwing the ball away,
Mm-hmm.
and there he was on the sideline, and he caught it, both feet in bounds. You know,
and then you had an easy drop,
fumble. Yeah,
the fumble.
The fumble,
and then another drop where you're looking at it. At first, you're saying, "Oh, well, yeah, okay, that would have been a great catch," and then you see it on the replay, and yeah, it still would have been a good catch, but that's a catch top tier tight ends make. So we're staring at another off season of you and I doing what we always do: sign Freiermuth, sign Dallas Goedert, sign David Njoku, and they won't. Yeah. And we'll see them sign. We'll see all those tight ends I just mentioned sign somewhere else or get re-signed for very team-friendly deals where you're like, why didn't the Saints spend pennies, on this guy? Well, and we've gone through it every offseason since Jimmy Graham left.
Yeah, I mean, you might see a guy like Stowers from Vanderbilt get drafted by the Saints in day 3.
Maybe,
if he goes where I think he's going to go, and I think he's a 4th or 5th round pick. They're going to want a blocker, somebody who blocks and can catch, and they're going to use Juwan Johnson as the pass catcher. So a guy like Stowers may work, and then I can just dig up that Jim Mora clip from 1992. He's talking about poor Tommy Stowers, But yeah, they just, and you're right, Calvin. There really is no game changing. There's no Tyler Warren, Brock Bowers kind of tight end in this draft. The guy who's going to get overpaid, and I think Kansas City's going to be the one who's going to overpay him, is going to be Kyle Pitts in free agency. Someone's going to break open the bank for that dude, thinking this is the guy in our system we can make him be the consistent guy that he's supposed to be in Atlanta.
Right. They're going to think that they're getting a Rob Gronkowski or a Jimmy Graham or a Shannon Sharp, and they're going to get a Jared Cook.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think that's where the money's going to go. Atlanta's going to see their team kind of get picked apart. So, but yeah, but yeah, there's no tight end out there, I think, that is really going to go make a difference for the Saints, that they're going to want to spend the money on him. They gave the money to, in their mind, they gave their money to Juwan Johnson. So that's where it's going to be. Yeah, I did see Shough doing well in Seattle, but kind of they're doing with Shough what he kind of did under Kubiak and Dennis Allen in New Orleans. They've got him on special teams, and they got him running jet sweeps and things like that and go routes. They're not trying to turn him into a complete receiver like they were trying to do here. So that kind of brings us, since we've been talking about the offense and defense, the special teams. I mean, in my good, bad, and ugly, I used my Paul Lynn. I made a Paul Lynn reference, Johnny Mathis reference.
You did. I was
Doctor
impressed.
Who reference, all in those things. I'm going, how old did I just reveal to everybody I am? If I'm talking about Paul Lynn. But, for those of you who don't know who Paul Lynn is, you poor uncultured swine, go look at Bewitched and Uncle Arthur. Go look up the Hollywood Squares and Paul Lynn.
He is why I watched Hollywood Squares.
Oh God, he was hilarious. He was hilarious. But his special teams were offensive. I mean, we saw it all in one game again in Atlanta. We had a block punt. The punts were terrible, and inconsistent. We missed another field goal. That was a difference in the game. That doesn't mean I think Charlie Smith needs to be cut. I just think Charlie Smith needs competition, significant competition, and they got to work with him, teach him how to get that ball to curve in. I think he was on the wrong hash mark for that field goal attempt, that long field goal attempt.
That's what I said too.
I even said that before he kicked it. I said, man, I don't like where he is. He needs to be another hash mark because his ball, God, this sounds terrible, but his ball, when he kicks it, tends to curve to the left. And if he's on the left hash mark, that's going to be wide. If he's on the wide and the right hash mark, it'll probably curve in because he's got the leg for it, and sure enough, that's exactly what it did. And our coverage units were terrible. The Falcons got a nice return, a couple of good returns on us.
If Isaiah Stallbird wasn't making the tackle, it was going to be a long return.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mentioned in my good, bad, and ugly that, Sean Payton realized in 2016, I've got to draft players or bring players who are solely here to play special teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's what JT Gray did. That's what Rashid Shaheed initially was supposed to be. Pierre Thomas was initially supposed to be a special teams guy, but he was bringing in guys. You think of Justin Hardy, you think of a kid,
Banjo.
Banjo. Thank you. I couldn't think of his name, but yeah. And I honestly think that we need a new special teams coach.
Yeah.
I think it's time that special teams coach was a last minute hire. He was a guy that I think that either Loomis or somebody in the organization knew and brought in, and this needs to be another guy. You need to find somebody. Hell, get that punter from the Jets. I loved him. McNamara, good God, he pinned the Saints 5 times inside the 10.
Mm-hmm.
You get a guy who can pin you back like that over and over and over again on a punt. That's what you need, Kickoffs, we did okay on kickoffs. We didn't kick off. As soon as Charlie Smith took over, we didn't have any go out of bounds. He kicked a couple out of the end zone, but I didn't mind that.
No.
That beats kicking out of bounds.
Right.
And I thought he did a good job really on onside kicks. Kicking that ball to spin that way. I mean, we almost got it. Pitts did drop it for a second. It just, we didn't have anybody there to get it from him.
Yeah.
But, I thought he was good I think he's got some potential, but you need somebody who can work with these people.
Yeah.
And you definitely need to upgrade the coverage units, the types of players you have out there in coverage. I hear you agreeing with me on a lot of the stuff, but punter especially. What is your thought about the punters that we've had since they let Morstead go in 2021?
It's amazing because each choice is worse than the last.
Yeah.
And God, I hope Thomas Morstead wants to come back to New Orleans on you pay me whatever the veteran minimum is or whatever the veteran average is for a punter. Let me finish my career in New Orleans. You're only going to get maybe a year out of Morstead, but I'll take it. He's not nearly what he used to be, but he's a hell of a lot better than everything that they have had since him. And like I said, and I could joke about it now that we don't have to watch it every single Sunday. But it was absolutely amazing how exponentially worse each punter got. And Kai Kroger, I got so in my own good, bad, and ugly articles for Saints Wire, I stopped including Kroger specifically and the offensive line in my bad or ugly because they would just be their weekly spots there were reserved. The only reason I even mentioned him in the Falcons game was because in the ugly I had the special teams as a whole because of Smith's missed kick and Hines on those 2 punt returns before he was benched for Pettis, who's allergic to contact.
Mm-hmm.
Kroger was mentioned as a wide scathing of the special teams, but he he shouldn't even be back with the team. Forget. Yeah, I agree with you. Smith should probably be the kicker, but you need to bring in competition and make him earn it. Kroger shouldn't even be competing for a job. He should be shown the exit door right along with the entire special team staff.
Yeah, and you're talking about Pettis, and even before Pettis, that I don't even remember number 19. I didn't even bother to learn his name.
Yeah.
But that was just awful. Okay, you're going to try and field the punt. Then you decide not to field the punt, but you're going to stand by where the ball is bouncing, and just one bad decision after another. And they benched him after 2 of them and put Pettis in there, where Pettis will just fair catch him on the 5-yard line. And
if he wasn't, he'd catch a punt at like the 27, retreat all the way back to the 20, and then maybe get back to like the 24, 25-yard line. Dante Pettis, and you see it here, with him too as a wide receiver. Yeah, I know he's a smaller guy, and there are not many humans on earth that like to be hit. And I get it. You're a smaller guy, so relishing contact is not conducive to a long career. But if you're going to scamper backwards at like a shadow coming at you, you probably shouldn't be wearing a football helmet.
Well, and just, you got to make good decisions. You've got to, part of the special teams is you've got to be fearless. You've got to, because you remember J.J. McCleskey.
Yeah.
Number 44. He was probably the shortest guy on the team, and he was like the suicide guy. He came down. He wanted to be the first one to make the hit. And, you kind of have to have that mindset, that you're going to go out there and you're just going to, go head first into trouble. And that's kind of what they needed out there as a returner. Tipton had a couple of good runs, and it was enough that teams stopped kicking towards him. But
he'd have one really good kickoff return, and then he wouldn't see the ball the rest of the time. And whether it was Pettis or Hall or Austin or whoever else.
God, Hall. Oh my God. If I could find the slowest white guy available, that's Ethan Hall. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so stereotypical, but good God. I'm 58. I can outrun this dude, I think. I've never seen a guy move so slowly as that and be an NFL player. Oh, yeah. Pettis has some amazing vision and footwork as a receiver. But as a kick returner, no. He didn't find the hole that he needed to go through, because there's a couple of times where he had a lane and it was there for about a half a second. You got to attack it, and he didn't. He would try and he'd do the Reggie Bush thing. He'd try and go to the outside because that worked in college, but it doesn't work in the pros. They're too fast. They get to the edge too quickly. But they need to find a Rashid Shaheed kind of player. They need to find a Michael Lewis, a Tyrone Hughes, somebody who is a Mel Gray, somebody who is a threat every time he touches the ball that you never want to kick to him. And he needs to be the guy that, okay, if they're going to kick it the other way, y'all swap and come and get it, And if it's a punt, they're going to punt it out of bounds. They're not going to punt it to you, Dante Hall's another guy. The kid from Chicago who just got in the NFL Hall of Fame. I can't think of his name.
Hester.
Devin Hester. Yeah, from Miami. You just need somebody out there who is a threat. And, when they go to punt the ball, they're like, oh my God, I don't know what's worse. Giving the ball back to Shough or letting this guy get it. And we may not see Shough, but he's going to be the guy that's going to score on us. Yeah.
And just somebody that's going to flip the field. You need that in a punter. You haven't had it. You need that in a returner, and you didn't get it. So
no, you haven't had it since Shaheed.
Right. You made life more difficult for your rookie quarterback with his JV team of receivers, and you put pressure on a defense, that was good, but I mean, especially early in the year, and this is one of the reasons why I think, that they'd often be facing an early deficit, was that you didn't have a punter that could punt you out of trouble or flip the field, so you almost automatically gave up a field goal, and if the defense bent a little bit more than that, you gave up a touchdown. Yeah. And you have a Spencer Rattler led offense that's completely handcuffed. That averaged 13.9 points a game. Now you're talking midway through the second quarter, you're already down by 10, and you only averaged average less than 14 for a game. That's going to spell trouble more often than not.
Right. Yeah. You're punting them from, because they pinned you inside the 10. You couldn't get a first down. So now your punter's got to punt out of his own end zone. Maybe gets it to about midfield. Well, three plays that get halfway decent yardage, they're in field goal range. That was another stat I saw. Saints opponents kickers 50 yards or more kicking were like perfect against us, or something ridiculous like that, where we were at 50%. At 50 plus yards, 40%. And from the 40-yard line, we were like, I don't know, that's where the bulk of the misses took place for both kickers, 40 to 50 yards. And the other team was well over 50% there. And he says, so, you're talking about these points, you're struggling to score points. You're struggling to get field goals, You're not even getting the threes, and your defense can play and keep it within, like the old Dome Patrol. If it was 20 points or fewer, they were going to win because the Saints offense could do enough. But here with Rattler and even Shough, the defense can keep it to 20 or fewer points, but it was so hard for us to get over 20 points. We didn't break that barrier regularly until December. Yeah. We had 2 games prior to Thanksgiving where we scored 20 or more points. And one of them, the Giants game, one of those touchdowns came on a defensive touchdown. Yeah. So, your kickers aren't making the kicks. So you're losing the blackjack game with hit me. That's the hard part about it. What happened to the undrafted free agent they signed that tied Shahid's college return TD record? I don't know who that is.
I forget who it is, but he basically didn't make it out of preseason. Shoot, I don't remember who it was.
Yeah,
I know. I know who you're talking about, and he had some problems seeing the field in preseason. And I think they might have kept him on the practice squad for a couple weeks into the year. And he was poached, or just released outright. But they decided, and obviously at the time you did have Rashid Shaheed on the roster, so you weren't going to carry 2 returners on your active game day. And then once they made the move to trade Rashid, I think this other kid was already gone and perhaps on another practice squad by then.
Yeah. So you almost have to go find another guy like a Shaheed. And I know they're going to be available. I know those guys are out there. You just have to trust your scouts to find that guy again, like they did with Shaheed. Would you say Tyler Shough has done enough to win Rookie of the Year with only 9 starts?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. But I don't think he's going to get it because he only has 9 starts and the Saints aren't a playoff team. Those 2 things combined is what's going to keep him out, and it's going to end up going to Tet McMillan, who had a 1,000-yard year, or Travion Henderson, who didn't even get 1,000 yards rushing, but
Yeah.
both those teams are in the playoffs. I think what Shough has going for him is the award season. Who's the Heisman go to? A quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the MVP go to? A quarterback. Now, it's not as heavily tilted towards quarterback for Rookie of the Year. But but the last two offensive rookie of the years were quarterbacks, Daniels and Stroud, and 4 of the last 6 were quarterbacks. Because of that, because of the position he plays, Shough has a shot. But again, we talked about the numbers. 265 passing yards compared to 198 with Rattler, 7.3 per attempt. Throwing to gas station attendants and retail clerks. Just ripping apart opposing secondaries, and you talk about Dart there, and I'm a big fan of Dart too, but Dart, the almighty Shador, Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward, whoever the dude was that played for Brady Cook, when you combine all the other rookies that started games this year. I think they have 7, maybe 8 combined victories.
Mm-hmm.
Shough has 5. Shough's numbers are better than all of them, blows them all away. So, if you're talking best rookie quarterback, there's not even a debate. It's Tyler Shough. Again, what I think holds him back is the fact that A, the Saints weren't a playoff team, and B, that he did only play 9 games. And I think that's unfortunate because in the last 7 or 8 of those games, he was the best rookie in the NFL.
Well, Drake May's not a rookie this year. This is his second year in the league. But I wanted to talk about Dart for a minute because it's kind of hilarious that Giants fans are so pissed off about Shough. I wrote on Twitter that for Giants fans, it feels like if he doesn't become Rookie of the Year and Shough is, it like invalidates Dart completely. Yeah. And I'm like, it doesn't have anything to do with anything. Saints fans just would be excited that, hey, look, not only do we know we've got our guy, but everybody else knows we got our guy, because he won Rookie of the Year. But we're not going to be pissed off if he's not Rookie of the Year. But Giants fans are like pissed, really pissed. Daily, they're telling us we have an all-star receiving core, first off.
I know. I've seen some of those.
And it's like, well, you've got Chris Olave, and he's better than anything we got because Mike Neighbors is hurt. It's like, okay. I'm sorry, Mike Neighbors. That's a reporter. Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is the receiver. And it's like, okay, could Dart do what Shough did against Atlanta? In Giants fans' minds, he did. He did that every week. That's what he had every week. He was flowing to. And it's like, wait a minute. Jameis started a game. Jameis threw for 300 yards. Who the hell was Jameis throwing to that he threw for over 300 yards? Because Dart never hit 300 yards. In fact, Dart started more games, and he only has a 200-yard, I think, difference between he and Shough in total yards. He's got more touchdowns, but that comes with more games. But the interception rate is almost the same. I think he's got 6, and Dart has Shough has 5, something like that. Saints fans are just like, hey, that'd be awesome. Not only did we get our quarterback of the future, but we got it Rookie of the Year. We really got our quarterback right. A guy that nobody had ranked up there as one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. I mean, I can still hear Mel Kiper. Yeah.
Me.
But
damn
Mel Kiper was ranting and raving every time a quarterback got drafted about Shedeur Sanders. The famous shot of Deion Sanders when the Saints picked Banks at 9th, and he's shaking his head, and telling him to cut the music and everything else. Because he thought Shedeur would go number 9 overall. And here they take Tyler Shough, and Saints fans freaking out about football is one of the biggest ones who was doing it. And Jono Barnes is another one. We'll be pulling up all these old tweets from people on draft night talking about they actually drafted this guy, and they played that one clip The Louisville game where he trips over his own feet, and the other one where he throws that bad pass at the combine. Meanwhile, you've got other people on film saying, hey, man, check him out versus Notre Dame. Check him out in the Miami Louisville game. He's doing the same things in those games that he is doing right now with the Saints. And Saints fans saw it. You know, so it's like when you look at the film, you realize this guy's got a hell of an arm and he knows what he's doing with the ball. So, you know, that's the I want him to win it just because it would be an incredible cherry on the top, chef kiss, however you want to put it, to this incredible draft class that they put together for 2025. You and I have talked about it before. You mentioned two of the rookies, Quincy Riley and Jonas Sanker, both having great years. Banks is a stud at left tackle. Shough looks like the guy, you know. Devin Neal was productive in the limited time that we got to see him. You know, Brockton, we don't know yet. He got hurt early. We never got a chance to see if he developed later on. But regardless, you know, you're talking, what did we just name? 6 people out of that draft class? You know, there's probably 6 players combined from 2018 to 2023 who are actually worth a damn on this roster. Oh, we didn't even mention Danny Stutzman, my boy.
Right.
Danny Stutzman, another guy who got more and more playing time with the starters. You know, so it's just, you got more players, productive players out of this draft class, and you probably have gotten since the 2017 draft class. And you and I have been beating this drum for I don't know how many years now. The reason why you weren't winning, the reason why you have cap problems, the reason why injuries decimate this team is because you haven't drafted well.
Yep.
You know, you're finally getting the draft right. And the question is, next year, can they get a good draft? I mean, you're picking 8th. You're picking 1 pick higher than you picked last year, and you won one more game than you won last year. So it's just amazing. Oh, Shedeur, you know, I don't want to really beat on this guy too much because I really don't like giving him any kind of airtime. But I read somewhere that he has the lowest QBR rating of any quarterback since they started doing QBR ratings. I think it was 18.8 was his rating. Yeah. So, I mean, it was worse than Brandon Wheaton. It was worse than he broke the record. I think that Jimmy Clausen had with Carolina. I think Jimmy Clausen had 20 was his rating. So, you know, I know he had twice as many interceptions as he did touchdowns. But, I mean, Cleveland's a dumpster fire. So, bringing that in, last thing of the night, the coaches hot seat. I mean, the coaches that were fired on Black Monday. We talked a little bit about Jim Harbaugh off the air. Kevin Stefanski from Cleveland got fired. 2-time coach of the year. People were like, why didn't you fire the GM? You know, keep Stefanski, fire the GM. I think Stefanski just wanted to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
His body language, I kept saying it all season. His body language is like, I don't give about anything anymore. I just want out. I'm begging you to fire me, to get me out of here, because I cannot take this dysfunction anymore. Those two, John Harbaugh and Stefanski, like the top 2 coaching candidates out there. The other ones that were fired were Gannon in Arizona, no surprise. Pete Carroll with the Raiders, again, no surprise. The Titans and the Giants already lost their coaches. I know I'm forgetting somebody else. Whom else am I forgetting? Somebody else got fired. Oh, Raheem Morris with the Falcons. That's the other. Yeah. Where do you think some of these coaches go? And who do you think are some of the hot coaches that could take their places? I'm really hoping Stefanski or Harbaugh look at Atlanta and go, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, I know because I like Stefanski as a coach. Harbaugh is a Hall of Fame coach. So I don't want either one of them in Atlanta. But at the end of the day, the Falcons are always going to Falcon too. So even if they got those coaches, they're still going to be Atlanta. Uh, I think.
Yeah, but he was double agent for us. I'm convinced. Terry
Right.
Fontenot was double agent for us. We'll spend $150 million on an immobile Kirk Cousins, and then we'll draft a quarterback, and we'll talk about how brilliant we are for doing this. A quarterback with 2 bad knees.
It wouldn't surprise me if Stefanski, and I know if I was Tennessee or the Giants, I would be going after Stefanski, if not for head coach, then certainly as an offensive coordinator. Because, we just got done talking about Jackson Dart. We talked very little about Cam Moore, but that man can play.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you give him the right coach and give him more weapons, he's going to be an exciting young player too. I think Stefanski ends up in Tennessee or New York in some fashion. Yeah, maybe as a head coach, if not, certainly as an offensive coordinator. Harbaugh. If you're John Harbaugh, you have to realistically look back at this, at the openings and say, okay. Maybe Tennessee has something I'm interested in. Good young quarterback. How much do you believe in the young talent? In other words, how quickly can you win with what's there? And it's the same question with the Giants, the Raiders, the Browns. They're dumpster fires. There's no way Harbaugh is going to touch them. But it wouldn't surprise me if Harbaugh actually sat out a year. Pulled a Sean Payton, and you know what? I'm gonna wait for the next cycle. Maybe Andy Reid's getting ready to retire. That sort of situation. So I honestly, Harbaugh's phone's probably ringing off the hook as we speak. But it wouldn't surprise me if he sat out. Stefanski's going to end up somewhere real quick. And the other guy, the Raiders. Who the hell knows? It's either going to be an over the hill guy. Or a guy nobody has ever heard of because nobody else wants that mess that's out there. And, Cleveland might end up being the same way. Because Cleveland, if you believe Shador's the quarterback, then you have a soap opera problem. If you don't believe Shador's the quarterback, and I'm not saying whether he is or isn't, if you don't believe Shador's the quarterback, then you have a quarterback problem, along with filling all the rest of the talent devoid on that roster. So, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Cleveland's problem is they still have the GM. And if this is typical Cleveland, they will hire a coach, then go around and fire the GM. Probably right after the draft. That would be about par for the course for Cleveland. The Raiders, Tom Brady has to take control of that team somehow. And he's got a ceremonial percentage of the ownership. He's a celebrity owner, kind of like how Al Hurt was a celebrity owner for the Saints back in the John Meekum days. He wasn't a decision maker, wasn't involved, used to face the franchise. But the Raiders and the Browns both have a perception problem. And this is something that last week when I had Matt on for you, why I thought winning against the Falcons was going to be so important. But playing as well as they did, I think it still carried over, even if it wasn't a win. Was you give now the impression to potential free agents, to coaches that you may want to hire to replace some of those people on your staff, that this is a team that's on the upswing. This is a team that it's got its quarterback, it's got its leadership in place, it knows what it's doing. The defense playing as well as it did. The players, the agents will look at it and go, look, if you go to this team, they got a vision for you. You're going to be a guy that can help put them over the hill, over the top. A guy like Breece Hall, who's with the Jets, another dumpster fire. Breece Hall can easily sit there and say, you know what? Rather than beat my head against the wall, I can go to this team here and I can be a productive player. I can have an impact. They're going to use me. And look at this locker room. Look how these guys are acting with each other in the locker room. It's a very positive thing, which is a difference from last year. So that's a huge selling point versus Cleveland, the Raiders, the Jets. Those teams are just teams look at them like they're going to lose. They're losers. They're forever losers. They may have a couple good players on there, but they'll be losers. Max Crosby, great player. Brock Bowers, great player. Ashton Genty could be a great player, but they're losers. They're not going to win. They're never going to figure it out. So, yeah, I mean, you can you can you can turn a team around based on perceptions that you have in the locker room. So I'm worried. I think Jim Harbaugh, like you just said, I think Jim Harbaugh does sit out a year. If he doesn't, it'll take a team like Tennessee offering him something that he really, really is attracted to. I think Stefanski is going to be the hotter of the two because I think Stefanski is going to want to go to another team. A team like Tennessee would be appealing to him because of what Vrabel did in New England. A lot of them are going to look at that kind of stuff. Yeah, not new addition, but yeah, I mean, as far as the Falcons, and I am surprised that the Bucs did not fire Todd Bowles.
I am a little bit too. Oh, right.
I'm glad they didn't keep his incompetent ass. I was upset the Falcons fired their incompetent ass. Raheem Morris. But I don't want to see Harbaugh or Stefanski in there. I'd like to see Atlanta go ahead and do what they were going to do 2 years ago. Go get Bill Belichick, please. Get Bill Belichick. Have him take over your team. Have him gut that team to get his players on there that he wants.
Yeah, like Pete Carroll did in Vegas.
Yeah. Trade away Bijan Robinson for some draft picks. Because you don't have a quarterback. Now you need some draft picks, offer Bijan Robinson to one of those teams up there so you can move up and go draft a Dante Moore or someone like that. Please do that. Do it. It's like the Emperor. Do it. That would make me very happy because the Falcons have some talent. And if they ever figure out how to find their ass with a roadmap, somebody could really win over there, but I don't want them to. I caught that nickname. Somebody called Ricky Bell Biv DeVoe. And I started going, poison. She's driving me wild. Now I'm really aging myself. Now I'm singing 90s era Club MTV songs, but Bill Bev DeVoe. So, that was a sick catch by Ricky Bell, though. I'm not going to take that away from him. That was an unbelievable catch. One-armed like that, stretching fully out to get that ball. And it was a hell of a throw by Tyler Shough. I don't know if the voters are going to take that in consideration, but the voters look at that and say, look what he did with, Foot Locker employee referees and bag boys as receivers, and he was able to throw for 279 yards and score 2 touchdowns in the air. One didn't count, but 2 touchdowns and run for 1. My gosh, just unbelievable. Yeah. And Cam is 1 sack away, half a sack away from tying Lawrence Taylor to be in the top 15. If they bring him back and he can get, I believe, if he can get 7 sacks, 8 sacks, he's in the top 10.
Yeah.
And despite the 2018, no call, that could get him into the NFL Hall of Fame, getting that many sacks. So, yeah, I'd like to see Cam and DeMario back. I think Taysom's done. But Cam and DeMario, I'd like to see them back to do that. Bob, do you have a Under the Dome? Do you have a Bayou Blitz coming up this week?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, just like with you, Brendan, and I had to move our shows through the holidays all over the board. But I haven't heard from him this week, and I haven't reached out to him asking him to reschedule. So at least as we sit here tonight, we plan on being back on our regular Wednesday date, which tomorrow. Today's Tuesday. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central Time. So. As I always will, I will post any updates or rescheduling on my social medias. And if I don't do that, then I'll post the live show links.
Good deal. Good deal. Playoffs start this weekend. Somebody asked me the other day, who do you want to go to the Super Bowl? I don't care anymore.
No.
There's nobody in there, I think, that is unbeatable either.
No.
I don't think Denver's number one seed. I don't think Denver's that good. I think they have pulled wins out of their butts, and they play hard. Get upset. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they play hard, but I could see them. I could see them going down in the divisional round, depending on the matchup.
Absolutely.
I could see a team that's playing this weekend on the road, a Rams or a Texans. I could see that. In fact, Rams Texans are my Super Bowl pick right now. Because they're both playing really well. I know the Rams dropped a couple close ones down the stretch, but LA is probably the most complete team. And I know you hate McVay like I do. Yeah. You hate McVay in the way that I do. You hate facing him, but you'd love him if he was your coach.
Oh, absolutely.
So I could see the Rams making a run. Very interested just to watch the Eagles 49ers to see who comes out of that one. And if they don't come out extremely beat up, that could be your Super Bowl team. Just like what you said about Denver. I could see New England going down early, Chicago going down early. There's not a team that's really jumped out at me at all.
Well, the Rams, and again, props for Tyler Shough. The Rams played this Falcons team the week before, and Matthew Stafford, who was a lead runner for the MVP category, threw 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, with Puka Nacua on his team against the Falcons.
Now Stafford had a few calls, bad calls.
Yes.
But that doesn't take away the 3 interceptions.
Right. But yeah, hey, somebody reminded me of this. You're not going to trade for Max Crosby. You can't afford to give up the draft capital to get Max Crosby, and he's not going to give you what you need. I mean, he's a great player. He will be a demon on the other side of Chase Young, but you're not going to get. You need offensive talent. You need a running back. You need offensive skill players. You need it's not worth it at this point. You trade for a Max Crosby if you are what the Packers were supposed to be, a player away. But it's not worth it. But Teron Armstead was on with Dick Underhill, and this clip is on YouTube. And this is from Robert Hunt, who is a guard / tackle with the starter Pro Bowler, played for UL Lafayette for the Carolina Panthers. He was talking about Tyler Shough, and the quote was, "When I came here from Miami, from Buffalo, I got away from Josh Allen, and now I'm in this division with fucking Shough." It's like he was comparing Shough to Josh Allen. And when we see it, when our players see it, and then when other players see it, that to me is more of a validation than being named Rookie of the Year or whatever.
Yes.
When free agency comes, we're going to talk about this more. I think for Alante, well, you're going to pay Olave, but for Alante, you don't have anybody to replace him if you let him walk. This is the issue we had with Adebo. We lucked out with a draft pick with Riley. Alante had 7 sacks as your nickelback. They figured out kind of how to use him. He's not that great in coverage, but he is good enough. But he is a big threat as a run stopper and a blitzer. So it's tough to make that decision. You know, I don't have a Super Bowl favorite right now. I'm looking to see who gets upset in this first round because I think there'll be 2 or 3 upsets. If I had to make a pick, Bills versus, and I don't believe in the Bills, but Bills versus Seattle, you know, and I don't believe in Seattle either.
No.
But those are the 2 I'm leaning towards right now, just because I think the Rams are going to play some crap game and lose when they shouldn't. I have no faith in Green Bay. In the beginning of the season, I would have said Green Bay Bills. I just think that Josh Allen's the only one left, and Josh Allen's just going to carry that Bills team on his back to try and get to the Super Bowl because he has no excuses left. And this is their last shot. So that's why I'm picking Bills. But I would not be surprised by anybody being upset.
No.
So anyway, Bob, I'm so glad you were back. I kept you even longer than I should have just because there's so much we haven't talked about in so long. I promise I will be shorter next time. I say that every week. But check him out in the Bayou Blitz this week if he's on. In the meantime, guys, I saw up to 20 people in this chat at one point. And some of you guys that are commenting, you know, we're going to answer a lot of these questions in upcoming shows, especially the free agency questions. You know, once free agency starts, I think like March 15th or March 13th, something ridiculous
something
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The new year starts in March 1st. So we have plenty of time to go through there. There's a lot of guys that I'd like to see the Saints sign in free agency. We have a lot of money to play with for a change. So it's going to be very different. We're not going to be as bargain shopping as we have in the past, but we will cover those in future shows. Thank you guys for sticking with us all this time. Thank you, Bob, for staying up so late. And we'll see you next time Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.